Hello, I'm Alexander Jeffrey, a summer associate with the Clark-Esposito law firm. This presentation will be about export transactions, specifically end-user and end-use controls. In this presentation, we will discuss restricted end uses and end users, the consolidated screening list, and relevant general prohibitions. First is a general discussion about end users and end uses. Federal Regulations Title 15, Commerce and Foreign Trade, often abbreviated as 15 CFR, sets forth the Export Administration Regulations, EAR, which completely outlines all of the information an exporter needs to comply with the governmental regulations regarding exports. With end uses, the U.S. agencies that regulate exports pay special attention to how the cargo is intended to be used in the destined country. Chiefly, these agencies regulate items that could be used in weaponry or to aid in what the government deems as antagonistic activities. With end users, the U.S. government regulates who products from the U.S. are ultimately being delivered to, as to prevent U.S. citizens and those under U.S. jurisdiction from supporting particular individuals or entities that are deemed to be dangerous or suspicious for any of a variety of reasons. Next, we will discuss restrictions on end uses. EAR Part 744 sets forth very detailed regulations on end uses that often refer to certain electronic control classification numbers, ECCNs, or particular types of transactions with specific countries. The designations may be in direct response to an executive order, foreign policy, or terrorist activity. The most common end-use restrictions include 1. Nuclear activities, which would be nuclear explosive activities, unsafeguarded nuclear activities, or safeguarded nuclear activities. 2. Rocket systems and UAVs, which will include components used for rocket systems and UAVs used in or by certain countries, and components used anywhere in the world, regardless of range, for delivery of chemical, biological, or nuclear weapons. 3. Chemical and biological weaponry, which would be components used for chemical, biological weapons in or by any country. And lastly, military activity. For ECCNs, this would include certain cameras and certain microprocessors. To the right is an example of an ECCN that is restricted under military activity that is for the regulation of cameras. As you can see, under the reason for control, there are a list of different codes that signify different types of controls. There's NS for national security, NP for nuclear proliferation, RS for regional stability, AT for anti-terrorism, and UN for United Nations. All of these lend to the reason for the restriction of the end use. To learn more about the ECCNs generally, look to our ECCN video. Next, we will discuss restrictions on end users. Even though a variety of governmental actions may affect who exporters can conduct transactions with, there are three main departments that continually regulate export transactions. Each department maintains lists of restricted end users. The Department of State maintains the Non-Proliferation Sanctions, as well as the Arms Export Control Act debarred list. The Bureau of Industry and Security, BIS, under the Department of Commerce, maintains the Denied Persons List, Unverified List, and the Entity List. The Office of Foreign Asset Control, OFAC, under the Department of Treasury, maintains the Specially Designated Nationals and Blocked Persons List, SDN list, the Foreign Sanctions Evaders List, FSE list, the Sectoral Sanctions Identification List, SSI list, Palestinian Legislative Council list, and the Part 561 list. They also maintain other lists that are less commonly used, such as the non-SDN Palestinian Legislative Council list, the non-SDN Iranian Sanctions list, and the 13599 list. Next is a very important tool for identifying end users, the Consolidated Screening List. The International Trade Administration under the U.S. Department of Commerce maintains a consolidated screening list that can be used to search all agency lists at once. The consolidated list can be searched using a variety of factors, including variations of names. To the right is an example of what the search screen for this list looks like. Under the fuzzy name factor, if this is turned on, the search will put in variations of names to help you expand your search and be more accurate. The EAR sets forth 10 general prohibitions in Part 736.2. Normally, if an exporter disobeys any of these prohibitions, they will face sanctions, but if they apply for and are granted the appropriate license, the transaction will be permitted. There are 3 relevant prohibitions, and here we will discuss Prohibition 4 and 5. General Prohibition 4 deals with denial orders. The regulatory agencies may issue denial orders to individuals who have regularly or blatantly violated regulatory statutes. A denial order can be placed on an individual within the U.S., so this may be relevant for doing background checks on agents or carriers when conducting export transactions. Denial orders can also be placed on specific transactions. General Prohibition 5 is the very broad prohibition that encompasses all that is set forth in EAR Part 744, which dictates end users and end uses. Some of the prohibited end uses or end users can be appropriately added to a transaction with the correct license. General Prohibition 7 is a strong regulator of end uses, and many of the foreign individuals that are found to participate in activities that fall under proliferation quickly end up on one of the multitudes of regulated agency lists. The EIR gives special attention to proliferation-related end uses and typically bans most transactions that would be deemed as promoting the spread and growth of military or hostile forces in other countries. Heavy emphasis is placed upon the restriction of transactions including the chemicals that may be used in biological warfare. The full prohibition, as it is written in the EAR, is given on the right. In summary, we discuss restricted end uses and end users, the consolidated screening list, and the relevant general prohibitions. Here at the Clark-Esposito law firm, our goal is to help streamline the global business operations of importers, exporters, and the companies that support them. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us. Thank you for viewing.